This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Hello, everybody. I want to welcome you guys back to another episode of the GSMC Sports Podcast presented by GSMC Podcast Network. As always, my name is Chris Blades. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for taking the time out of your day to listen to me talk about sports. If you haven't already, I want to remind you guys to subscribe to the podcast. Make sure you never miss an episode. Make sure you're always on top when we drop our latest stuff. If you could please as well, give us a 5-star rating or a snap review. You're very appreciated, very helpful. See what you guys like, what you guys dislike, all that fun stuff. And also, if you're on social media, we're on social media, so you can find us there: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We can talk, we can chat, we can debate, we can discuss. And before I get started, I just want to shout out all the essential workers out there, because I know a lot of us are either working from home or, unfortunately, some people I know got laid off of their jobs or furloughed or whatever, or maybe their job search got put on a hold just because no one's really working in buildings right now. They're not essential. So I'm take the time to shout out those essential workers who have to report to work every day, whether it's like nurses, doctors, police officers, firefighters, EMTs, whatever qualifies as a grocery store and like workers, especially them. Not especially them, obviously, especially everybody, but I know grocery stores are kind of much more chaotic than they've ever been. At least like doctors and nurses, obviously they're overworked, but they're used to having to deal with stuff like this. Maybe, I don't know. It's hard to say. But your grocery store workers, they didn't expect to come in and get yelled at or have people fighting over the last roll of toilet paper, or the last like piece of steak like that. That's not a normal thing that happens. So again, not that what nurses and doctors are going through is normal, but obviously I know grocery store workers had their, like I'm saying, scratch that. Everyone had their life turns upside down in the last couple months, so I don't want to single out anybody more than the others. Like I said, I just want to give a shout out to all those guys because they're doing great work making so that we can get back to normal sooner rather than later, which is obviously what we all want. But yeah, it's just a crazy time we're living in, and I know they're going through crazy experiences right now just from what I've seen on social media and the news. So I want to give those guys a shout out if they are taking the time out of their day to tune in to try to lighten up their mood a little bit. I hope I can do that for you guys. But speaking of crazy, obviously, as we know, with sports season not happening, people have to put together some crazy plans in order to figure out how they're going to proceed if and when they are able to proceed. Because obviously there's no guarantee of that based on just how the virus is working. It seems like, based on every projection, or not every projection, but projection from a lot of doctors, it seems like this thing is going to be around for a while, and a lot of people are going to get infected by it. So it's just like there's no exactly an end in sight. It's kind of like, it's an unfortunate thing where we're in a tunnel, but we don't really know when it ends, and we can't even really even see the end, let alone know when it ends. Obviously, we pushed the guidelines back. Obviously, we're not going to open the country back up by Easter, which was never going to happen, in my opinion, based on the things I'd read and seen. Just in obviously the things I've seen people not do, let alone the things I've seen people do. I didn't think that seemed a little ambitious. Even the end of April seems a little ambitious to even start letting things get back open. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see if hopefully that can help flatten the curve a little bit if everyone actually decides to hey, if we stay at home for the next, I guess we've done it for a couple of weeks, so it's like a 6-week, 8-week total kind of thing. If we can do that, because obviously I think the worst of it's probably going to be in the month of April. So if we can kind of by the end of the month of April be on the downturn of the curve, then all right, maybe we can do that. Because the last thing you want, which we'll talk about in a second, is to open the country back up, and obviously then now we have a whole another round of outbreaks because we're already kind of going through a lot right now. I don't think we could deal with any more volume than what we're dealing with, obviously. Not a medical professional, but just the stories I hear out of hospitals, it seems kind of a mess right now. But with that being said, some of these sports leagues are trying to figure out plans of how to proceed if and when they are able to. We talked about some things the MLB's done, which we'll get to more in a second. Talk about things or the plans that the NBA maybe has, stuff like that. I don't think I touched on this, but it was like a thought floated out there about the Big Three doing like some sort of quarantine tournament, just like keeping everybody in a single location, testing everybody, playing the games, all that fun stuff, just to give some people something to watch, which again I can appreciate, but from safety standpoint may not be the best thing at this moment. But the NFL, I should say, is also trying to do the same thing, or at least should be considering it, I should say. This is from Pro Football Talk from earlier Sunday. Mike Florio wrote about how like the season could potentially play out if and when it starts up. So one idea floated out by a GM and was reiterated over the weekend was that NFL takes all of its teams to a location free from coronavirus, tests everyone on the way in, and then sequesters the entire league for the duration of the season. The Premier League reportedly is considering something similar to this, Mike Florio said, as a way to finish this 2019-2020 season, and the NFL needs to be considering the feasibility of an approach as a way to play and televise the 256 regular season games and the 13 postseason games for the 2020 season. And then he goes on to say one of the possibilities would be to find a place literally in the middle of nowhere and build enough fields to play various games on a given Sunday and Saturday if college football doesn't happen, and enough rooms to house the players, coaches, trainers, broadcasters, etc. for 17 weeks, and then obviously the 4 weeks of the postseason, excuse me. Another possibility, he said, would be to add a football facility at the Greenbrier in West Virginia, which currently has 710 rooms, which, I mean, is quite a bit. But obviously you're going to need more rooms and have them done pretty soon. And obviously going to need to build fields and all that stuff. And he was saying that if and when they decide to have a normal season, this kind of approach may be what would be best to preserve the TV money, which is obviously what most people worry about, is how they're going to make money or how they're going to keep their money, because obviously these TV networks that paid a lot of money for the rights to the NFL. And obviously they don't want to lose their money, just like the NFL owners don't want to lose their money on revenue, and just like the players don't want to lose their money on like game checks and stuff like that. So they're going to try to figure out a way. And he said that if the college football can't be played, then the NFL obviously would be able to play both on Saturday and Sunday, because the only reason they really don't play that much on Saturday is because the college football season, you don't want to fight for those ratings, and neither the networks don't want to fight for those ratings. So if that happens, then it open things up. And he said, would it be better to play games in existing stadiums out of shore? Would it be better to play games with fans? Absolutely. Until that becomes a probability certainty, the NFL needs to be thinking about other alternatives for getting games played and televised, obviously. So, while points were made, I think the points, at least in this article, can be a little bit short-sighted in terms of if college football is not happening, why is the NFL happening? Because again, they happen at the same time. It would be like if the NBA shut down, but then like NHL or like MLS or the MLB season was about to start. Like why? Like you can't, if it's not healthy for one league, how is it healthier for another league? And also the whole like, all right, I get the whole thought process behind like, all right, let me find an area of the country where there's like little to no corona. Cool. That works. That doesn't mean there won't ever be any more corona. Like there's no, like unless there's like a cure or a vaccine or something that comes out by like September or August, there's no guarantee that this won't come back. And obviously that's the biggest thing. And maybe by then we'll be able to better handle. That's really the biggest issue from what I've read or seen right now, just the fact that you're getting hospitals overrun with these type of patients. And obviously that's hurting because then there's certain people that may not get treated because their symptoms are too severe. Like they don't think they're going to be able to save them, or now there's people, it's not like all the other diseases or ailments or whatever that go on in the world have stopped. Like these things, there's people still have to go to the hospital for other reasons. So now there's not enough beds for those people because most of them are filled by corona patients, and it would just be, it's a whole mess. So I'm saying maybe in a couple months we'll be better able to prepare for that because more people will less people will have it. But at the same time, it's not going to go away. Like it's not going to, I don't think it'll just be poof, pow, gone by September. I don't think that's going to happen. Again, not a doctor, so we'll see, but I don't think that's going to happen, at least. So with that being said, even if you sequester all these people in an area where there supposedly is no Rona, it doesn't mean that the Rona won't come back. or the Rona won't find its way to wherever you're at. And then that's the thing. If one of the people catches it, and they're test positive for it, just because they test positive on the way in does not mean they're not going to get it at some point while they're there. So if one person tests positive for it, then you got to shut the whole league down. And that's the last thing you want. You don't want to start up a league and then have to shut it down later. And that's kind of like the issue you're going to have. Because like you see the way the NBA handled it. Like once one person tests positive, they were just like, all right, we got to stop everybody. We can't just stop the Jazz, or we can't just stop the Thunder, or the Nets, or the Lakers, or the Pistons, or whoever. We got to stop everybody. And that, to me, that makes a whole lot of sense. Because like, once one person gets it, you don't know who they've had contact with. And then this is different because now everybody's going to be in the same space. So it's one thing where you have people over different parts of the world. So obviously less teams teams are still affected, but not every team in the league is going to be affected by it at the same time because not everybody's had interaction with that one person. But if you're all staying in the same hotel, using the same facilities, the same fields, stuff like that, then there's more of a chance that they're going to infect somebody. Now they've infected someone that they don't know they're infected, so now they're going to infect other people. And obviously, again, it'll be closed to like just this group, so that's cool. But then now you got to basically quarantine all these guys, so that, like I said, players, staff, coaches, broadcasters, camera operators, referees, grounds crew people, the hotel staff, because again, it's not like they're just staying in a hotel and taking care of things themselves. You run into a lot of those issues there. So that's kind of what the concern would be for me. Is that if one person gets it, then you risk everybody getting it. And then if everybody gets it, now you got a complete, like a 100 times worse problem than if you just didn't play the league at all. Because now it's like, oh, how are you going to get all these people to the hospital? How are they all going to get treated at the same time? Like, it would be a whole mess. So I'm saying that's the last thing the NFL, I think, would want, was to start the league and not be able to finish it. That's worse than not starting at all. If you start it, give the people hope, get stuff going, and then you just have to cut it. Especially if it's early, too, because, again, obviously when the NBA season started, this wasn't really a thing. At least not over here. Well, definitely not over here, because the season started in October. It wasn't really a big thing. Yeah, it didn't even hit China until, November, December, if you, obviously believe. The way China handled the stuff, I think it wasn't that late. It might have been early as October, but, again, it wasn't. And if it was like one or two people, so no one was really that pressed about it at the time. But now, obviously, that we know it's literally everywhere. You can't risk that kind of stuff. But yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I understand the point of the article of like the NFL needs to think like it's playing the season and plan for them to play the season. But again, if everything else is shut down, why would the NFL be the one thing that's open? That just doesn't make any sense to me. If it's not safe for any other sports league to play, and it's not safe for maybe people to be working and stuff, why in the world would the NFL be playing? Like, why? I understand why, because money. Money. Oh, no, I don't want to. That's the Apprentice theme from back in the day. But yeah, you don't want to, I understand, like, you want to try to televise these games and play these games in order to, like, make people money and stuff. But again, if it's not safe, it's not safe. There's not much you can do about it. If every medical expert is saying, no, don't do this, you can do this, as rich people tend to do what they want. That's kind of what it must be like to be rich. But yeah, so I know they do what they want, so they're not necessarily going to listen to these guys, but at the same time, you're going to have to follow their lead to some degree. Like, I don't think Goodell knows we just openly defy medical experts. Not to say that they couldn't, because they could, but I just don't think they would do such a thing. Personally. Obviously. What do I know about these rich owners? But I would think they would at least take the advice of the medical experts on this and be like, hey, it's not safe. Even with no fans, it's still not safe yet. So I'm just saying, the possibility of no fans, I understand, like, in their own stadiums, but if you're trying to, like, take them all to one spot where there's no corona and play all the games there, it seems like logistically, and it just wouldn't make any sense. So even if you got, because there's only, like, so many networks. Because again, these games are all played in different areas of the country, like their local Fox station or their local CBS station or wherever is televising the game. But now if they're all on the same spot, now you're competing for the same channel. So you only have one Fox in that area. You only have one CBS. So even if all the channels pitched in, ESPN did more games and NBC did more games, and even if you did for whatever reason, college football's not playing, so you did Saturday and Sunday, that's still only, I guess 8 games you would televise at a time. And then what do you just do away with, would you still keep the primetime games? How would they, it seems like it'd be a whole mess logistically. And then even then, you're going to play in the 1 o'clock window, no matter where you are. You're going to play more than 4 games at a time. Because you're not going to make it through the games if you don't do it like that. I don't think. You have to see how many they do on the Saturday. But it's you have to play at least 4 games, if not more, at a time. Then if you did 4 and 4, 4 at 1, 4 at 4, that's 8. Going to need to do a late game on Saturday, so that's 9. Do the same thing, 9 games, so that's... Okay, so 9 gets 18. Oh, so, 9 times 2 is 18. No, maybe it could. Okay, maybe it could work. But then you need to keep and obviously it's only really for the first, and maybe the last week, because those are the only weeks that I don't think anybody has a bye, or maybe the last couple weeks where no one has a bye. And I guess the first couple weeks where no one has a bye. Because once people have byes, then obviously it makes it a little bit easier. So maybe they would have a way to work around it. But still, in my opinion, if it's not safe, it's not safe. Don't worry about playing. It seems, like I said, the mindset would seem very short-sighted to me, hey, we need to take all these guys, because I wouldn't agree with it when the Big Three was doing it. I wouldn't agree with it if the NBA is doing it. Again, if one person gets it, you have to shut the whole league down. Because you don't know who else is going to get it. So you want to be in a situation where you don't have that risk. If that's still a risk that is available, then I don't think you should be playing. Even if that means, starting the season later or not having the season at all, whatever. If there's a risk that if one person gets it, that it could be catastrophic for the entire league, then it doesn't seem worth it to me. At least, but I guess we'll see what they do in the coming months. But yeah, so see how that goes. But after this break, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about the MLB side of things, because the MLB and their union stuff came up with strict guidelines or regulations, if you will, for how or what would need to happen in order for the MLB season to return. So we'll talk about that, talk about my feelings about them. Like I said, if I like them, whether I dislike them, all that fun stuff. So we'll talk about that right after this break. So stay tuned.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines, they got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
GSMC Sports Podcast, presented by GSMC Podcast Network. So, like I said, we already talked about in the last episode the plans in place for the season to get started back up. The players and the owners agreed to approve to just the salary and service time issues amid the indefinite delay in the season, which we talked about in the last episode. The owners reached an agreement between the players and the players' union Thursday night, which came after nearly 2 weeks of negotiations. And as a part of the agreement obtained by ESPN's Jeff Passan, the players and the MLB primarily agreed that the 2020 season will not start until each of the following conditions are met. So, There is no bans on mass gatherings that would limit the ability to play in front of fans. However, the commissioner could still consider the use of appropriate substitute neutral sites where economically feasible. There are no travel restrictions throughout the United States and Canada. And medical experts determined that there would be no health risk for players, staff, or fans, with the commissioner and union still able to revisit the idea of playing in empty stadiums. While there are no formal framework for the agreement, owners and players both want to play as many games as possible. The flexibility of both sides was seen in the willingness to extend the regular season into October, play neutral site playoff games in November, and add doubleheaders to the schedule. The players want to play. Said an MLB PA executive, that's what they want to do. Being able to get back on the field and be able to play, even if that means their fans are watching at home, being able to play for their fans is something they've all expressed a desire and an interest to do, and do so as soon as possible. Also, they're also very open to games being held in empty stadiums and at neutral sites. That possibility exists. The opportunity to play in neutral sites is something both sides are willing to discuss. Obviously, we're going to talk about the service time stuff and like the money in place to divvy up to the players in 1-4 classes. And the last thing, $170 million. And also like the MLB draft and stuff like that. So, and the service time thing. So obviously the biggest thing that was different from last episode was the specific guidelines, which I think, obviously kind of going back to the point from the last segment about the way the NFL was handling things, that kind of is like a polar opposite way of handling things. They're not going back and playing unless certain conditions are met, which is the way I think you should do it. If there's no travel restrictions, that means, all right, it means it's safe for normal people to travel, which then in turn means it's safe for the athletes to travel. That makes total sense. Also to go along with that, there's no ban on mass gatherings, which I think they maybe need to be a little bit flexible on, because I still think even when this is all over, there's still probably going to be a limit for at least a little bit of time. I don't think we're going to go right back to being like, hey, you can just have as many people as you want in this specific space. Nobody cares, because again, you can't have that until there's like a vaccine or a cure specifically out there. Like just having more tests available or more ventilators, stuff like that, to treat people better, like that helps. But again, if there's no cure, no vaccine, like you can get a flu vaccine, like you can get a vaccine for a lot of other different kinds of diseases, which you may not want and could potentially be deadly to the wrong person. So, like I'm saying, if that's not available, then I don't think you can just go back to having these mass gatherings as if nothing is any different. So, I get why that's a part of it. Also, I understand why they don't want, like I said, travel restrictions, because again, if it's not safe for regular people to travel, it can't be safe for athletes to travel. We're all humans. It's not like their immune systems are any better or any worse than the average person. Again, they're probably in better shape than the average person is, but that doesn't, that helps your immune system, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're, obviously we've seen athletes get it. You haven't heard about any current athlete perishing from it, but again, athletes have been able to get it, so that's the first step. And then also, like they said, the medical experts determined that there would be no risk for players, staff, or fans, with the commissioners and unions still able to revisit the idea of playing in empty stadiums. So obviously, even if they say like, all right, we can't do the fans thing yet, cool, MLB gets that. So they say like, if the players play or they have like the staff there, or like the grounds crew or the stadium workers, whatever, because I guess to turn the lights on or do whatever needs to be done, like, will that be a health risk? And if they say no to that, then all right, I can understand come back to play. And that's why I think it's important for each league to have something like this in place. Because you can't just be starting back up on a whim, because like I just talked about, you start back up and then you have to shut it back down again. That's a whole big mess. And it's like, all right, why'd you even start back up in the first place if this was a possibility? You should be not starting back up until there is little to no, because again, if there's no cure, there's not going to be zero, but little to no possibility that there could be an outbreak within your league again. Obviously, MLB hasn't had one. They've had people test positive, but they haven't had like an outbreak within the league because they haven't played the games yet. Same with NFL. I haven't heard too many hockey players. Again, and maybe I'm just not looking hard enough. I don't think I'd heard too many. You guys can more than welcome to correct me if I'm wrong about that. I know, like, obviously, people overseas have gotten it and stuff like that, but I don't know if anybody in the NHL had gotten it yet, which is kind of interesting. But obviously, like I said, we know what happened with the NBA. So you don't want to open stuff back up, like open the league back up, and have to shut it back down again, which is like why the country as a whole pushed the guidelines back a couple weeks till the 30th, as opposed to trying to open stuff back up after Easter, because they were just like, if we open it back up before we're ready, then we won't be able to handle the second wave. Like, we're already, depending on who you ask, we're handling the first wave in maybe not the most efficient way. So if we do that, then we open things back up to now more people have it, and we're still having trouble dealing with the people that already had it. Then it's a whole nother mess. So you want to, like I said, buy yourself as much time to be as prepared for if something like that were to happen. Again, just be prepared. So I'm saying that, looking from that perspective, that helps out the medical people, helps out the hospital workers, the doctors, nurses, urgent care, all those people. It just helps them out if we don't risk a second, like, spike, I guess you could say, or a second, like outbreak situation. Just because if we do, then it's like then it's a mess on top of the mess we already kind of are dealing with. You don't want that. You want to, like I said, the whole idea is to flatten the curve so that when, like, again, with no cure, we're going to be down to 0 people getting it, but when people get it now, they're able to get hospital treatment, able to get ventilators, they're able to get tested. So then obviously, on the flip side, they're still able to treat the other patients that are in the hospital for other reasons. Because again, it's not like you can only go to the hospital if you have COVID-19. Like, there's still other ailments people have and other treatments people need. But if all the doctors and nurses are focused strictly on that, then they don't have time to deal with that stuff, or maybe they're not giving them as much attention as they need to be to that stuff. And then also, I mean, a lot of nurses, at least on doctors on social media and on the news, have already stated that they kind of expect to get it because they're just exposed to it so much it'd be nearly impossible currently. Like, obviously, the way some countries overseas protected their nurses and doctors, maybe there would be less of a chance to get it, but because it's not enough masks or whatever situation may be, again, depending on the area, things are a little bit different. But because of that, there's a limitation on the type of equipment these guys have, and because of that, there's a chance that they could get it themselves. So, like I'm saying, not only you, I guess, well, if you're dealing with patients, it's not that big of a deal because they already have it. But if you're going back to treating somebody else, like a normal, like whether it's like cancer or like some sort of gunshot wound or stab wound or something, you go back to treat them, but you have corona, then now they catch corona and they don't know that they had it, or they don't know you might know you were exposed to it, but they don't know that they now have it, potentially, and now they're going back home to their families, acting like nothing's normal, everything acting like everything's normal, now they're infecting their families. It'd be a whole chain of events that no one wants. So, I appreciate the MLB, at least from their standpoint, making it so that they're not going to be the cause of a second, like, outbreak. And obviously, again, they still have contingencies, and I guess everyone's kind of doing the whole neutral site thing just to be like, oh, if there's an area in the country where there's little to no things, let's just have everyone go there. But again, that doesn't mean that the corona won't come there eventually, but I guess that's better than just having it all over, especially if you go later into the year. Because again, baseball's a spring, summer sport, so if you're going into November, you can't play games. I mean, you can play games in New York or DC or anywhere in the north, like Boston, like that. Like, you can, but just like the weather's that's not baseball weather. It's not ideal. So you want to have close to baseball weather. Now, obviously, that will be easier to do in neutral sites, whether it's like in Florida or it's in Texas or California or wherever it's warmer. It doesn't need to be 90 degrees, but it just can't be 15 and snowing. Like, that's not baseball weather. So, again, we'll see how it all plays out. But again, I give the MLB credit for being on top of that and at least having guidelines in place where these things need to be met before we even think about returning. So you don't risk coming back too soon and then having to shut the whole thing down. And then, like, that's, again, coming back and shutting it down is worse than just not coming back, in my opinion. Not only did you give the fans hope, you give the players hope, you gave everything, and now if you shut it down again, then now you don't know when it's going to be able to start back up. At least if you don't do anything this year, which would be unfortunate, but the possibility, then you know, all right, next year will be good. If you try to start things up this year, then it doesn't work, then you're like, are we still going to come back this year? Is this season a wash? Like, it's just be a whole mess, in my opinion. So I would advise all the leagues, don't come back until it's safe. And obviously we'll know when it's safe when the doctors and experts and stuff tell us that it's safe. So don't do anything before then, because then you, like I said, you risk the safety of your players, of your coaches, of your executives, stuff like that. You don't want to have to deal with that and any potential lawsuits that could come with that from starting the season back up before they were ready to. But yeah, so speaking of safety measurements, there is a player or a former NBA player that is overseas that is trying to get America the necessary supplies that we need in order to combat the coronavirus the best way that we can. So I'll talk about that. I'll talk about what he's trying to do, and like I said, who it is and the ways in which he's trying to help, all that fun stuff. It's a cool story. So we'll talk about that right after the break. So stay tuned.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
And we are back here again on the GSMC Sports Podcast presented by the GSMC Podcast Network. So, shout out to the boy Stephon Marbury, who, according to ESPN, is trying to arrange a deal that would deliver 10 million N95 masks to New York City. But I mean, he's trying to do it, but obviously he's run into some issues coordinating a deal between the Chinese company and the coronavirus struck city. Obviously there's a lot of parties involved, like I said, between the mask supplier and then China as a country, then also getting them shipped and then dealing with like who they get divvied up to, all that stuff. But, and shout out to him for trying to do something, because obviously, as if you've been watching news, there's been discussed a shortage on masks because regular people are buying them. I mean, not even just like the basic masks, like the N95, which I guess are like, I think they maybe have like a respirator in them or something. They're just a little more heavy duty masks that more of the medical professionals should have. But again, because everyone just kind of freaked out, no more people are buying them up. So now there's less for the medical professionals, and that's obviously not good. And that's obviously why, as I discussed, a lot of them are fearful that they're going to get it at some point because they don't have the proper equipment or utensils or necessities that they need in order to fight this in the best possible way. But again, shout out to Stephon Marbury doing his best to try to see if he can get that situated. And obviously a city that very much uses it. I think New York is easily, at least in America, the highest state, at least in terms of the most cases at this point in time. We'll see if anybody catches them. But again, it makes sense. I mean, there's a lot of people in the city on a given day. They're all tightly packed together. Everyone's, like I said, everyone's using public transportation. No one's driving. No one's using cars. Everyone's walking on the sidewalks, stuff like that. Like, it's just like a lot of people tightly packed together. It was bound to happen. And then obviously, not everybody's adhering to the social distancing thing and the stay at home and all that stuff. So, when that kind of stuff happens, when people are like, they still want to live their life, which again is reasonable, but in a time like this, you kind of can't think of it like that. So when people still want to do that, then obviously they're not taking the proper steps and guidelines and do that now. There's like things are worse. Not that New York's the only state that's doing that, just that obviously when you have that many people so close together and you're doing that, then it obviously it's going to make things a lot worse. So I appreciate Stephon Marbury trying to do his best. Apparently Marbury told the New York Post that he arranged for a supplier in China to sell the masks for $275 each, nearly 2/3 less than their standard price tag. At the end of the day, he said, "I'm from Brooklyn. Marbury told the Post from Beijing, where he coaches the Chinese Basketball Association's Royal Fighters, "This is something that is close and dear to my heart as far as being able to help New York." Marbury added, "I have family in Coney Island, a lot of family who are affected by this, so I know how important it is for people to have masks during this time." Apparently Marbury reached out to the Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams to help coordinate the sale. But Adams told the Post that he was initially informed by city and state officials that they did not need masks. When the Post contacted the State Department of Health officials, however, they said that the state officials want to talk to Stephon. The department was put in touch with Adams' office to continue talks. And obviously Marbury is an NBA vet, played for 5 different teams in 13 years, including the Knicks, before joining the CBA, where he played for 8 more years before becoming a coach last season. And obviously he's a legend over there in the CBA and in China. I think they were going to make like their own like biography about him. I mean, they might have already made it. I think it was supposed to come out. So yeah, so I mean, like he's a huge deal over there. So that's cool for him to at least, I mean, obviously not forget where he came from, because he's always at the end of the day going to be an American. No matter how much success he has overseas, he's still an American. So you're not going to forget that. And obviously, especially somebody from New York, people from anywhere take pride in being in where they're from, but especially New Yorkers. If you talk from any New Yorkers from any of the boroughs, they all take pride in being from that borough specifically, whatever the borough is. So, again, Stephon Marbury is one of those guys that hasn't forgotten about that. And I understand and I appreciate what he's trying to do, because, again, he was in China. So that means he's already seen it, like, firsthand, obviously. He's back over there because they've, how much ever long from the, again, no one, if you don't want to believe the official data out of China, completely reasonable. So we don't know exactly, we may not exactly know when it officially began, but we know that they've gotten it under control now, being March. So whether it took them 5, 6, how many ever months to get it under control, they have it under control now. So he kind of, and like I said, having been through this and them being ahead of America in that regard, he understands like what needs to be done in order to get this process as sped up as you can to get back to normal as soon as possible. And he's trying to do his part to aid in that, and I salute him for that, because again, athletes, that's not something he's required to do, or he should even have to do. Any state should be able to go to the government or go to whoever and be able to get this or that or whatever it may need in order to combat something like this. They shouldn't need to ask a player, or they should need a donation from a player from overseas. And then even with that, apparently, like, I guess they think they're going to get something from the government, because that's obviously what the president of the Brooklyn borough said, that they didn't need the mask, but then apparently they do need the mask. And like Cuomo says, they need more stuff, and it's just like, it's a whole mess. But yeah, I appreciate someone being willing to take that initiative and step forward, because like I said, he knows firsthand what's coming to America. Because again, he's lived it. And obviously, again, the way China handle things is definitely going to be different from the way that we handle things, because we're obviously a lot more of a free country, and people do and do not choose to listen to their government officials in terms of certain things like that. Obviously, even in states that are, there's states that haven't shut down at all. Even states that have started to shut down, people are still out there doing their thing, congregating whenever they want. Not that you hear taking their social distance when they're in public places like grocery stores or whatever. They're still like walking around and staying close to people as if it's just like any normal, like it's just a regular old day that nothing's really going on. So with that, until that is drilled down, we need to take as many precautions as we can. So that's why the masks are a necessity, to make sure at least we're prepared in that standpoint for all the nurses and stuff that they have to deal with. Because again, they're having to use masks that are inferior to the type that they should be using, and then obviously it's putting them at risk and then putting more people at risk and stuff like that. So that was kind of cool. And also that was interesting because it came off the heels of the announcement that James Dolan, the owner of the Knicks and Rangers, has tested positive for the coronavirus. And the Knicks put out a statement about it Saturday night. So it was kind of interesting timing with that, because obviously he played for the Knicks. So, but yeah, apparently he's experiencing little to no symptoms and stuff, isolating, all that fun stuff. He's the first major U.S. pro sports owner known to have tested positive for the virus. Again, probably won't be the last, because he's human. All of us are human. And obviously New York is, I think the biggest thing, and is the part of the reason why Stephon Marbury is doing this, is because New York has become the epicenter of the COVID-19 outbreak in the United States. As of Saturday afternoon, which again has gone up since then, there were more than 52,000. Wow, 52 cases, that'd be nothing. 52,000 cases in New York State. Government officials said about 7,300 people who were in New York hospitals Saturday, including about 1,800 in intensive care. As cases continue to rise in the tri-state area, the City for Disease Control and Prevention on Saturday issued a 14-day travel advisory for New York, Connecticut, and New Jersey residents, discouraging them from any non-essential domestic travel. And obviously, as we know, the NBA is not playing. But yeah, so then we know New York's like I said, we already touched on, New York's probably the worst place in the country right now in terms of number of cases. But again, they have a lot of people, so not surprising that they'd be at the top. And obviously, they're also doing a good job of trying to test everybody. Because obviously, the more tests you do, the more your numbers are going to increase. That's kind of why testing is ramped up in the country. We see the numbers of positive cases increasing at a rate that's so much faster. Just because back a couple weeks ago, we weren't testing that many people, and now we're trying to test as many people as we can. So different states set up different things. That's why the numbers are continuing to increase. So that aspect of it is not surprising to me, kind of how the numbers are doubling and moving up so fast. But again, it doesn't mean that we just have to accept that we, as people, need to try, do whatever they can. So I hope for New York's case, they're able to work out this deal, because it seems like it'd be a good thing. Even if they get masks from the government or whoever, say they don't need Stephon Marbury's mask per se, I still think they should take them. Just because even if you don't need all of them right now, you want to be prepared so you don't have to be in a situation again if something else comes up. I mean, obviously this pandemic is a big issue right now, but this may only be be a starter one. This may not be there's believed to be, if you I guess watch enough of these pandemic shows or listen to some of these researchers and experts, there's going to be a big one that's probably going to wipe out, supposed to be, conspiracy theory type thing. There's supposed to be a bigger one that's going to wipe out a good portion of the population. Not that any lives lost is not bad. That's kind of the unfortunate way we think of this. I know, I think the president said that if we lose 100,000 people, we probably handled it pretty well, and that's maybe, but also we shouldn't lose that many people at one time if we don't have to, especially when we're one of the most technologically advanced countries in the world. We should have a healthcare system in place to allow for people to be able to get tested and get whatever essentials they need in order to combat this disease, and also make it so that the healthcare providers, the healthcare professionals, so doctors, nurses, whoever, can be protected as much as possible. That we shouldn't be losing. Obviously, again, with diseases, people pass away every day. You can't stop at that. That's literally one of the only things that happens in your life, unfortunately. But at the same time, we should be doing our best to combat it so as little people are lost as possible. So even, I know, in the grand scheme of the population, is 100,000 that much? No. But 100,000 people will affect a lot of people's lives. It could potentially affect millions of people's lives depending on who it is. So let's not have 100,000 people pass away if we don't have to. That's my thing. And if Stephon Marbury can help with that, so that the nurses are better prepared, so they're not catching it and then passing along to their family or other nurses or other patients in the hospital and stuff like that. So we're not just having extra unnecessary bodies pile up. I feel like that's a step we should take. So hopefully, like I said, Marbury is able to work out the deal with Brooklyn, and then obviously even if they don't need them, pass them to Queens. That's what I think is the worst area in New York at the moment. Pass them to Manhattan, pass them to wherever. If they don't need them, pass them to New Jersey, pass them to Connecticut. Whoever needs the mask. I don't understand why we would be turning away stuff that could benefit us at this point in time. But again, it's not my decision to make. Especially if he's cutting them a deal on it where they're selling for, I think what was he said, selling them for nearly 2/3 less than their standard price tag. It seems like a deal that New York should be willing to take, in my personal opinion. Especially, like I said, if this is the epicenter of it, why are we not doing everything we can to prepare ourselves and have the nurses and doctors better equipped to handle it? And again, I guess we'll kind of see how that goes. But shout out to Stephon Marbury. He didn't have to do this the same way other athletes didn't have to step up and be willing to donate meals or pay for workers laid off, stuff like that. Like a lot of we've seen, I should say, the goodness of athletes and their willingness to step up in times of need when other people aren't doing so. It's unfortunate they have to be the ones to step up because, again, they only have so much money. Granted, it's a lot more money than the average person. But there should be the owners or billionaires or whoever that should be willing to step in and help this stuff because obviously they can contribute more than your average athlete can. But again, I salute any and all people that are willing to help in any way because, again, we're only going to get through this together. So the more people that can help, the better. But yeah, so after this break, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about a very important day in the world of sports. It was March 28th, this past Saturday. And if you're a fan of, I think it was Saturday. Yeah, it was Saturday. If you're a fan of football, you know what the numbers 3 and 28 mean. So we'll talk about what those numbers mean, what they refer to, and also the game in which they refer to, and kind of just my thoughts about the game and how what I remember about it and where I was and all that fun stuff. So we'll talk about that right after the break. So stay tuned.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's GSMCpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
And we are back here again on the GSMC Sports Podcast presented by GSMC Podcast Network. So 3 and 28. What could I possibly be talking about? You may be asking yourself. If you know, you know. But if you don't, I am referring to the 28-3 lead that the Falcons had on the Patriots in Super Bowl 51. And then they soon after blew the lead, leading to the greatest comeback in Super Bowl history, and basically cementing Tom Brady, in my opinion, as the greatest quarterback of all time. Because you could say, like, the fourth Super Bowl, alright, they should have lost that one. All the Seahawks have to do is run at the 1 yard line with Marshawn, probably get in even if they get stuffed. I think they still had a timeout left. I think you can run whatever play, like, and then I guess if you pass and don't get it, you still feel like you don't lose, basically. And yet, they try to run a little pick play, doesn't work because, as if you've watched like the, I don't know if it's like the turning point or like the thing where if you follow football, you know that like they do like their little like mic'd up thing or they do like their little like game breakdowns. I forget exactly what the name of it is. I think it might be Turning Point, but where they break down specific plays or specific moments in the game into more detail to try to get you to understand exactly what's going on. And I remember when they were talking about that specific play, they showed a clip of them practicing against it like in practice, obviously. And Malcolm Butler did not read it right, and then obviously they gave what would have been a touchdown. So obviously he knows the play when they run it the second time. I think it was Brandon Brown was the up front corner. He did a good job of like not letting him get pushed too far back and thus creating a weird angle for Malcolm Butler to have to get around. He just jumps it, bada bing, bada boom, it's interception, Seahawks lose. So yeah, so you could say, alright, that was a little fluky. Again, he win. I think he hadn't won one since 2004, before that one. And that was, 2014. So it'd been like 10 years he had lost twice to the Giants in that time, to Eli. with two different teams. I mean, some of the players were the same. Obviously, Eli's still there, but like a little bit different teams. So people were kind of questioning the greatness of Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. Because again, they'd been so long since they'd won a Super Bowl. And then again, they win that one, a little fluky. All right, so they probably need like one more to really, really solidify, and obviously one more to beat like Joe Montana. And that was the one. And when you do it in a comeback like that, it's very impressive. But yeah, so the numbers 28-3 will forever be synonymous with the Patriots, and more so with the Falcons, unfortunately, until they do get themselves over the hump and win that Super Bowl. May not be this year. Or maybe it will. Who knows? But yeah, so until that happens, the numbers 28-3 will forever be connected to the Falcons. I think they even... I'm surprised they didn't. I think the NFL Network was showing it, and I think Tom Brady posted on Instagram, I think it was Sunday, talking about he was rewatching the game because like, the NFL was showing it. I'm surprised they didn't show it the day before on obviously 328. That would have made more sense because that's when people were making the jokes about it. But I know, like, obviously it's a great Super Bowl. It's arguably one of the best Super Bowls ever. You could say definitely one of the best Super Bowls in the modern era. I mean, we've had a lot of great runs in the last 5 to 10 years. Like, you can include that one, include the Patriots-Eagles one. Again, unless you're a fan of defense, and obviously you're like, no, too many points, too many yards. I'm a person that likes to see points get scored, I like to see the ball get moved, and that's exactly what that game had. Had great play calls, had great moments. And yeah, and obviously at the end of the game, defense is what matters because obviously the strip sack, if that doesn't happen, Patriots probably win. So even in a game with very little defense, you still got a key defensive play to help seal the game. Even the Niners Chiefs one was pretty good. Obviously took a while for the Chiefs to heat up, but once they did, you kind of just saw the switch turn on. I just flipped the switch. If you're, for my TikTok fans, or just Drake fans, not TikTok fans, but obviously if you're familiar with TikTok, you understand where that song's from, and obviously the whole challenge associated with that. Or if you're just a Drake fan, you know what songs that's from too. But yeah, so then like obviously they flipped the switch. We were able to turn things around. Obviously they were able to win. So you got that one. Got obviously the Seahawks, Patriots one. I'm trying to think what else was pretty good recently. Broncos, Panthers, Seahawks, Broncos, definitely not. Even not the Falcons, the Ravens and Niners one, that was a really good Super Bowl too after the whole light fiasco. And that allowed whatever momentum the Ravens had, they lost. And then the Niners were able to get back in. They weren't able to win, but they were able to get back in and at least make it competitive. Jacoby Jones, I still think, should have won that MVP, but it is what it is. But yeah, so we've had a lot of great Super Bowls, and this one is arguably at the top of the list. Most people probably had the Seahawks, Patriots above this one because of just the pick six, but I would argue this one is a little bit better. I mean, a little bit more impressive. Well, at least if you're not a Falcons fan. If you're a Falcons fan, then I'm sorry, you probably already tuned out of the segment. You probably skipped ahead to the next segment, which I can't blame you. I don't watch the replays. I know my dad said he doesn't watch replays of the Super Bowl the Giants lost against the Ravens. He's like, there's no reason for me to watch that. I've never rewatched. I don't think I've ever rewatched the highlights in full of the Eagles-Patriots Super Bowl from 2004, where they cheated, and Donovan McNabb stunk it up. And T.O. was the best player on the field on one leg. I just can't bring myself to watch it. Why would I put myself through that? Doesn't make any sense. Now, the Eagles-Patriots Super Bowl from Super Bowl 52 with Nick Foles, I watch that one all the time. I can almost recount, you can pull up a random play and I'll know exactly what happened. At least the Eagles have the ball. Not necessarily the Patriots, but based on time, down, distance, I can almost tell you most of the game play by play. That's how many times I've watched that. But yeah, so then that game was an interesting one because we were watching, I was in college, senior year of college at the time, where it's a bunch of us were in an apartment, one of my friends' apartments, while watching the game, obviously Super Bowl, trying to get a little party together. I was thought this one and the Seahawks one, and then obviously the Eagles one, but for non-Eagles Super Bowls, that Seahawks one, I remember watching that pick live and I was in shock for literally 10 minutes. I just couldn't believe that the Seahawks had blown the game like that, but this is not the Super Bowl we're talking about. So for that one, we were watching it, it's a room full of Patriots haters. And one Patriots fan was in the room. So, I mean, you could imagine that first half, that first few quarters, talking crazy to my friend. Everyone's celebrating, everyone's happy. He's just nice, reserved, cool, calm, and collected. He's like, no, don't worry. We'll come back. Don't even worry about it. I was like, all right, yeah, sure, dude. You got a quarter. And they scored. I think they scored like early in the fourth. They cut it to like 28-9, I believe. I think that's how it happened. I'm trying to go back in and remember specifically. No, they scored right before. They scored right before the end of the third quarter. That's what it was. So it was 28-9 heading into the fourth. And then I was like, all right, it's still a lot of time. Like the Falcons aren't going to blow this. Like it's all good. Don't need to worry about it. Then when that happens, I forget. I'm trying to remember exactly how it all went down. So blah blah blah. Okay, so and that happened. They score. I think they missed the extra point too. So that was like the weird part about it. So I think they scored and then missed the extra point. So then, like I said, it was 28-9. They attempt an onside kick. They don't get it. They drive the ball down, and then they force them to punt. Brady drives down the field, scores a touchdown. So now it's 28-12. No, take that back. They didn't score a touchdown. They kicked the field goal. So now it's 28-12. Then on the next play, the next drive, Dante Hightower blitzes, and then Devontae Freeman somehow doesn't see him. I've watched that play over. Don't know how he doesn't see him. And also, if you watch that play, I don't know if Matt Ryan's going to throw it to him. There was a guy like streaking past the safety, and like he would have been open if Matt Ryan can get it to him. Can't, fumbles, Patriots recover. And right now, as a Patriots hater, is when I start to get nervous. I'm like, oh Lord, all right. There's a lot of time left, but like the Falcons aren't going to blow this, I don't think. But then it's like, all right, so they score, they touchdown to Amendola, 2-point conversion, the direct snap to James White, he runs it in. They could have just handed it off. It was a weird play. But whatever. So it's 28-20. Cool. 6 minutes left. I'm like, all right, they got this. I think they put together a drive, and you'll be good. And I think I wasn't sure. I was still a little nervous. I was like, Falcons, they kind of choke these things. But then it was like right after the Julio Jones catch on the sideline where he like leaped up between like two guys. I think it was at least over one guy. It might have been over two. Like tapped his feet in barely for like a 30-yard gain. They're down to like they're down to the Patriots 22-yard line. I'm like, oh, we're good. Well, not we, but like I'm like, oh, the Falcons are good. They can't blow this. All they have to do is just like literally just like kneel the ball 3 times. Even if the Patriots call their timeouts, you're still gonna kick a field goal, go up 11. There's like little to nothing the Patriots can do. What do? Not that. So then, okay, they run once, they lose a yard. Cool. They try a pass, second down, don't know why. And then Matt Ryan gets sacked, and then they're able to throw a short pass to Mohamed Sanu on 3rd and 23, but then it gets called back for, I think it was holding. So now they're out of field goal range, it's 3rd and 33, and then they throw incomplete, and then now they got a punt. So, like, not only did you not gain any yards, you just continue to go backwards. So, at least if it was 3rd and 23, run a screen pass, run a draw, do something, try to get 5-10 yards to make it at least a chance at a field goal. Throw another pass. It went incomplete. I think he sailed out of bounds, if I remember correctly. And then he punts it back. The Patriots have to go 91 yards in like 3 minutes, 30 seconds. And still have 2 timeouts left. And I was like, oh boy, here we go. And then I think it was after the Amendola catch, where like he tries to throw it to Amendola, the ball gets batted in the air, and Amendola catches it off of the guy's shoe tips. I was like, oh yeah, no, the Patriots are winning. Like I think at this point, if you were watching that game and didn't know with 100% certainty the Patriots were winning that game after that catch, then you were kidding yourselves. I'm sorry. I think it was right then. Like again, we have the one Patriots fan in the room. He's like still kind of calm, but is like starting to feel a little bit. Everyone else in the room, in the apartment, is a nervous wreck. And then granted, none of us are Falcons fans. Most of us were just anti-Patriots, which, again, reasonable. But yeah, so we're all like, oh boy, the Falcons are really going to blow this, aren't they? We're like, all right, it's still got time. They still can get a stop. Nope, no shot. Patriots continue to drive down the field. They tried to challenge the catch. It didn't matter. He clearly called it. Like, there was nothing they could do. Completes a couple more passes. They run the ball in from 58, with 58 seconds left. There was a game. I think they did the little, like, motion in screen to Amendola where, like, he, like, starts out wide, motions in, catches the ball, and, like, goes behind the other receiver that, like, lead blocks for him for the 2-point conversion. because of course, then they officially erased the comeback. Officially erased the deficit. They've now scored 25 unanswered points. And then you could see that the Falcons got the ball back. They tried to do something. It didn't really work. Now they go to overtime. Of course, the Patriots win the coin toss. So right then you're like, oh, yep, Falcons, thanks for coming. Thanks for coming. It's been great having you. You guys had your shot. And now it's over. Because you knew Tom Brady was going to drive down the field and score. You just knew, you knew that's 100% what was going to happen. And of course, that's exactly what happened. They drive down the field. They get into red zone pretty easily. They tried a couple passes, which, were really unnecessary. Well, they tried to pass to Martellus Bennett in the corner on a fade, I think it was. And it was why just run the ball in? Then what do you know? Next play, they run a toss to the right, and James White scores, and the game's over, and the Patriots have won, and the Falcons have completed the biggest collapse many of us have seen maybe ever, but just definitely in the Super Bowl. And then that one Patriots fan, he's celebrating, he's happy, he's doing the whole I told you, blah, 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 I told you guys, should have listened to me, all that stupid mess. All of us are also sitting here disappointed and in shock. We're just I can't believe the Falcons really did this to us. But, yeah, shout out to the Falcons. They are now going to be forever remembered as the team that blew the biggest lead in Super Bowl. So, shout out to you guys. I'm sorry for the fans. Because, I know you go and get jokes for the rest of your life until the Falcons win a Super Bowl. And even after they win a Super Bowl, still going to get jokes. Because they could have already had one. Or not even could have. Should have already had one. There's no reason. I don't know. You're up, what, I guess. So it was 28-9 at the end of the third. So that's 19 points. Professional team, 15 minutes. You should be able to hold a 19-point lead. I'm sorry. You should. You just should. But the Falcons are going to Falcon. So they were just nope, why would we want to hold the lead? Why would we want to win a Super Bowl, guys? Why would we do such a thing? But yeah, I think it was, on top of the fact that the offense would move and then stall or turn the ball over or whatever, by the end of that game, their defense was gassed. There wasn't anything they could do with them. You could just tell they just ran out of steam. They were just getting, like I said, the ball was just moving down the field for the Patriots. It didn't really matter who was throwing the ball to, who was going to. Guys, Malcolm Mitchell was out there as a receiver. I don't even think he's in the league anymore. Chris Hogan was out there. He's not even a part of the Patriots. Danny Amendola was out there. He's not even a part of the Patriots anymore. Who else? Edelman's still here. I don't think they had Gronk in this game. Wasn't Gronk hurt? I think he was hurt. So they didn't even have Gronk in this game, I don't think. I could be wrong, but I don't think they had Gronk in this game. Hold on, I'm trying to look up the statistics. Oh, man. I'm trying to look at the stats, but I'm pretty sure Gronk didn't play. So, yeah, so you couldn't even blame at least the Eagles. They would have had a reason, because after a certain point, Gronk just decided he was going to be the greatest player on the field. And he couldn't really do much. Brady threw for the ball 62 times, did not realize that. 466 yards, 2 touchdowns would have obviously beat that in the next Super Bowl. They let James White catch 14 passes for 110 yards and a touchdown. It's good old Falcons. You really do hate to see it. Really do. Again, sorry for any Falcons fans out there. I had to relive that not only this weekend, but again, hearing this on the podcast. But this is going to be talked about to the end of time. So, unfortunately, just get ready and just try to tune it out as best you can. But like I said, this is going nowhere anytime soon. So, when we come back, there was also some other sports-related topics discussed over the weekend, and one of them was the debate. I know there was a start bench cut thing, which I guess we'll run through too, but also that kind of led to the debate of two players in their prime, and who you'd want on your team, who's better, all that fun stuff. So we'll talk about both those debates right after this, so stay tuned.
Are you looking to get your college football fix? Looking to get the latest news on your favorite school's team? The GSMC College Football Podcast is your ticket to all things college football. Join us as we talk college football from the national championship, the college rivalries, the bowl game, to the Heisman Trophy. To which conference is the best? We've got you covered for the Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, the Pac-12, ACC, and everything in between. Download the GSMC College Football Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
And we are back here again on the GSMC Sports Podcast, presented by GSMC Podcast Network. So the first kind of big, like I said, there was a couple, but this first one kind of got the ball rolling, was this start, bench, cut graphic that Twitter account put out, and it was with Derrick Rose, like prime Derrick Rose, prime Russell Westbrook, and prime Kyrie Irving. So like start, bench, sit, and obviously there's a lot of debate and decisions to be made about that. And now, the biggest issue, which again will kind of is kind of what we're getting to in the next topic, was the issue of Derrick Rose and like what is his prime really? Because again, he was MVP in 2011. Then 2012, I think, is when he tore his ACL. And then it took him a while to kind of recover from that. And now he was back. He played well last year, was playing well again this year. But again, it kind of took him a little while to get back. He didn't play at all during the 2012-2013 season, only played 10 games 2013-2014. Then he got back playing more games in 2015-2016. 2014, 2015, and then like next couple of years up until 2017. Then 2017, 2018, he was kind of bounced around for a while. Then 2018, 2019, a good season. Again, only played 50 games, but he shot his highest percentage from the field, shot his highest percentage from three, had his highest amount of points is like his early part of his career. He had average 4 assists, 2.7 blocks. Like he had a good year coming off. I think he mainly came off the bench for the the Wolves that year. Yes, that was kind of the biggest issue. Like, what is his prime? Like Russ, we've kind of seen what his prime looks like. Obviously, that was with like the end of the KD, and then obviously the post KD era, and then even now this year when we saw him before, like obviously the season shut down. He was playing. They maximized his peak just having the Rockets go 5 out, and he was playing great this year. And then also the last one was Kyrie Irving, who he's like sort of kind of in the middle of his prime, beginning his prime. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say because he had a lot of success early on in his career, obviously hitting one of the biggest shots in recent NBA Finals memory in the 2015-2016 Finals. No. Take that back. That was the 2016-2017, right? I'm pretty sure. Nope, that's not the year I wanted to look at. Yeah, because that was the last year he was in Cleveland. Oh, no. Last year was in Cleveland when they lost. Right. I'm bugging. Yeah, they got beaten 5 that year, too. Okay, so no, it was 2015-2016. Oh, okay, you know what? Trust yourself, guys. So, yeah, 23. He hit arguably one of the biggest shots in the history of the sport with the 3 over Steph on the right wing to complete the 3-1 comeback and give Cleveland its first ever championship. He had 26 in that game. And obviously the bigger game for him in that series was the Game 5, where him and LeBron both had 40 to help stave off elimination. They kind of beat Golden State pretty good, and he only had 23 the following game, but they didn't really need him that much. They still won pretty easily. But yeah, so it was like start, bench, cut. So now, my thing is, like I said, the D Rose prime was kind of short-lived. If you just got 2011 D Rose, which is MVP D Rose, which, I mean, is not sustainable unless you're LeBron. Not everyone's going to win MVP every year. But just if you got that version of him, when he averaged, 25... Yeah, so he averaged, 25 and almost 8 assists on a Bulls team that really didn't have that much else around him. I think he had, Joakim Noah, Luol Deng, Kirk Hinrich, I think. I'm trying to remember who else was on that team that year. Obviously, he was coached by Tibbs, Carlos Boozer, Taj Gibson, Kyle Korver. So not even Kirk Hinrich. I was wrong about that. So you had, Kyle Korver, James Johnson, Skylar Barini, CJ Watson. Like I'm saying, this is not exactly a murderer's row of, all-star level talent. And they still took the Heatles, I think this was first year Miami Heat. It took them to 6 or 7 games. I'm trying to remember. I will look that up. I'm looking that up now. So yeah, they took them to, I believe, it took them to only took them to 5. Well, I thought they were able to compete more with that. But yeah, I guess, at the end of the day, that Miami Heat team was a force to be reckoned with. So there's not really a whole lot you can do there. Well, at least, they didn't get blown out in a lot of these games. They kept them fairly competitive, and obviously they won game 1. But yeah, so it's all right, so which one would you rather have? I would say, based on, even though, I'm going to start from the bottom and work my way up. Kyrie, who, great player, obviously, can perform in the biggest moments. But, for me personally, he might be the guy that gets cut only because he's on, his 3rd team now in his career, and he's only, 26, 27. So that's kind of unprecedented. Obviously, Cleveland didn't want to get rid of him, but he was just done there for whatever reason. Boston wanted no parts of bringing him back, and obviously looked just as good, if not better, with Kemba Walker there. And obviously, we won't know how that would turn out with no basketball anymore, but, and obviously, I don't believe all the stories that were coming out of New York. Everyone in New York seemed to like him, but also he did bash his teammates too. Not bash, not the right word, but you talk about guys that are part of the future there and didn't include guys like Joe Harris and Jared Allen, who I think are going to be a part of the Knicks. Maybe not Joe Harris, but I don't see why you would keep DeAndre Jordan and leave out Jared Allen. So yeah, I'm just I don't know if chemistry-wise is going to fit on every team. Plus, he's basically a 2-guard. Not that Russ isn't, and not that even D Rose isn't at his peak. They're all guys who can score the basketball. But at the same time, I don't know. I know Derrick Rose can be a number 1 and lead a team to success. I know that Russ can be a number 1 and at least lead a team to the playoffs. I'm not sure if Kyrie can do that. Not that I don't think he can, but I'm not sure how that would look. Because again, he was number 1, kind of, sort of, in Boston. I don't know. They had a lot of good pieces, and obviously they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals without him. So there is that. And obviously with Cleveland, they were bad, and then they got LeBron and Kevin Love. And obviously he was still number 2 and the number 1 in certain moments, but again, it's still LeBron's team. So I've never seen him lead his team to the playoffs, though obviously Russ hasn't had any success in the playoffs when he's led his team there. And in fairness, D Rose only really did it one time, lead his team deep into the playoffs. We've seen Russ perform at a high level in the finals. I think he had, a 40-point game in the finals that one year. We've seen him have good games in the playoffs. Obviously, he just hasn't had the success post-KD in terms of winning series. So yeah, I just think even though Kyrie, again, if I need a last shot in the finals, he's probably the go-to guy, especially because he can shoot better than both these guys. I feel like for my overall team, in terms of guys that can do a little bit of everything, I'd probably cut him. Then this one's a tough one because it's I don't know, because prime, what is prime Russ? Is prime Russ MVP Russ? Because MVP Russ averaged a triple-double. And that's hard to beat. Or his prime rush this year's rush, where he averaged 27.5, which is his highest since his MVP season. 7 assists, 8 rebounds. This is also playing alongside James Harden, so it's not like he's out there by himself. Shot 77% from the free throw line. Shot 51% on 2-pointers, which is his highest of his career. Has highest effective field goal percentage of his career. His threes were abysmal, but again, don't shoot them. And he wasn't. And had his highest field goal percentage of his career. So I'm saying, because if we get that kind of efficiency where I can go 5 out and let Rush just drive the lane and get to the pull-up if he needs it and not shoot threes, I don't know, because again, the athleticism it's still there, but it's not like, prime D Rose athleticism and prime Russ, like younger Russ athleticism is otherworldly. Like there's things that D Rose was doing to people in terms of like dunking and speed and stuff like that no one will ever be able to touch. But yeah, that's a tough one. That's a tough one to me. Because I don't know, because like I said, the assist thing, obviously D Rose did average almost 8 assists to 1 MVP year, but that's not really his thing as opposed to with Russ. I've seen him average 8 multiple years in his career. He averaged 10 4 straight years, almost 11 last year, alongside PG. Averaging only 7 this year, but again, James Harden has the ball a lot. Where D Rose, and obviously he's getting a lot of rebounds. Or Derrick Rose he's playing well recently, but again, he only had he didn't have any year over 8 assists. Now again, his prime was cut into due to the injuries and stuff, so it's hard to say for certain what he would look like. And obviously he won the MVP at 21. So, if you got that level of D Rose, then it's a little different. Sorry, so when he hurt, no, okay, he didn't hurt himself this year. He hurt himself in 2011, 2012 for the first time, I think. I think he got hurt in the first he got hurt in the last playoff game. No, he got hurt in the first playoff game, yeah. Against the Sixers. So yeah, he only played 39 games that year. Was that the lockout year? 2011, 2012 might have been the lockout year. Oh yeah, that was the lockout year. Still only played half the games. It's kind of nutty. But whatever. Yeah, so it's like, prime Russ, prime D Rose. I might tend to lean D Rose. I think I'm going to lean D Rose for the start and like have Russ come off the bench. Only because prime D Rose at 21 battled the Miami Heat, who Russ did lose to as a youngster as well. But again, he was the number 1 guy on that team. Far and away, won MVP, was a monster. And obviously, as a number 1 guy, like again, post KD, Russ has not even gotten out the first round of the playoffs. So it's hard for me to start that guy, even though again, he's averaged triple-double 3 straight years, consistently over 10 assists the last 3 or 4 years of his career before this year, is playing this year when they finally did what many people have been saying to do, which is surround him with shooting and space, is having arguably one of the best years of his career. But again, he's a little bit older. And we don't really know. I guess the uncertainty of what D Rose's prime looks like leans me towards him just because we don't, like I said, we don't know what it could have been. We know what it was before his prime, what he was before his prime. Again, he won MVP at 21, like I've said multiple times. So I'm saying if he could have built off that without the injuries, I mean, who knows? He could have been a perennial MVP. As opposed to Russ, I mean, was Russ deserving of the MVP? Yes, well, he had a great season, but at the same time, MVP is a lot of narrative-based, and a lot of that kind of stemmed from just like, him being the first guy to average triple-double since Oscar, and also obviously the KD leaving, like him still being able to keep the Thunder afloat thing that definitely helped him out a little bit more so. Again, James Harden had probably the better case. I mean, had a pretty good case, obviously, as a more successful team doing similar things. And then obviously, well, not obviously, but then beating, not that the playoffs matter. I think they beat them in that first round. The Rockets did. So, there's that as well. But yes, I think that's probably how I would do it. Start Rose, like prime Rose, just because, again, him at his best almost led a team of solid NBA players to NBA Finals, while, again, Russ had Paul George within the last couple of years, post-KD. It's the first year post-KD, all right, that's whatever. The second best player was younger Victor Oladipo that hadn't really had the chance to improve his game yet. So that's probably not gonna win too many playoff series like that. If you get Pacers Victor Oladipo, then it's a different story. But then again, he had PG and Mel the 1 year, and then just PG last year. Again, hurt PG, but still PG. And didn't get out of the first round either time. So kind of hard for me to go there. I think there's people that's going to argue that Kyrie should be ahead of him because for that same exact reason. But again, I would argue Kyrie as number one. What has he really accomplished? At least Russ is number one, won an MVP. Again, Kyrie is one of the biggest shots in recent memory in the finals. But again, still LeBron's team. They were bad before LeBron, and obviously he's had little success here and there after LeBron. But again, the Nets weren't really that good when he played this year. Not that that's all his fault because the team's built to have KD on it. So when you don't have KD, it's a big part of the team that's missing. But also, like, Boston couldn't get rid of him soon enough. Has issues with the Celtics. Obviously, the coach just got fired in Brooklyn. Maybe his doing, maybe not. So yeah, it just seems like I don't know if that's what I want to deal with personally on my team. So yeah, those would be my three. I was going to talk about the Chris Paul versus D Rose debate as well in their primes, like who's the better player. But I think that segment would go too long. So maybe we'll talk about that another day. Maybe there'll be a different debate that comes up. So I think we'll just stick with the start, bench, cut for today between, like I said, D Rose, start D Rose, bench Russ, and cut Kyrie. Unfortunately, I was sorry to do it to a Jersey guy, because Kyrie's my guy, but not like I know him, but like he's a player I enjoy watching play basketball quite a bit. But yeah, I think that's how I'm going to go with this. So start, like I said, start D Rose, bench Russ, cut Kyrie. Sorry, Kyrie, I have to do it to you. But yeah, so after this last week, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about yet another reason why I say fan voting is terrible. If you didn't know, there's a bracket that ESPN put out. We'll talk about what that bracket was and how the fan vote has kind of ruined it, in my opinion, and it's taken out some. It's like, yeah, again, fans should have not total say in terms of votes and stuff like that. It just, nothing ever good comes from it, in my personal opinion. But yeah, so we'll talk about my feelings on why I think that this time. Obviously, I've told you about it in the past, but this time, why I feel that way. So we'll talk about that right after the break. Stay tuned.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC, Invicta FC, Bellator, and One Championship. We got the fights covered. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts. Past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
Here again on the GSMC Sports Podcast, presented by GSMC Podcast Network. So during these Rona times, ESPN was trying to look out for us. They were going to launch a SportsCenter special with the college basketball players greatest of all times. It was going to be a bracket, 64 of the greatest men and women. There's a fan vote to determine who wins via ESPN social platforms, all that fun stuff. So again, seemed like a good idea in theory. And the bracket was actually, I read through it. I mean, it's kind of hard to find a little bit now, but I kind of read through it and it was interesting. But yeah, so if you look through I'm trying to get to Sweet 16s, so I'll try to find the Sweet 16 for you guys. But yeah, because like I said, I have the full bracket, but that doesn't really matter too much. So, Sweet 16 in the South and the Midwest region. You had Melo versus Zion and KD versus Magic, which KD making it, depending on who he faced, is kind of wild. Zion making it was even wilder. Because, well, I mean, this whole bracket's kind of a mess. Well, let's start with the Midwest. So Wilt beat Bill Walton. I mean, Chamberlain averaged almost 30 points and 18 rebounds in a 48-game season, but I mean, Bill Walton was one of the best college players. Ever had a 21 for 22, 44-point college performance in the 97-3 title win over Memphis State. And obviously he got hurt, so then that kind of hurts his situation. But again, he was great at UCLA. You had Steph Curry who made it. Did he beat Maya Moore for that? Which is absurd because again, Maya Moore is one of not even just the greatest women's basketball players, one of the greatest college basketball players, and professionally too, because she's won at professional level of all time. So that was kind of a mess. And again, Steph Curry was good, but again, a lot of that's just pegged on young kids know who Steph is. And him obviously having a great postseason run. I think Zion beat Christian Laettner, which in and of itself, you might as well just throw the whole bracket away. No offense to Zion, but you only make it to the Final Four over Christian Laettner, who won championships at Duke at the same school. Like, it's not even like these are different schools. It's the same school. No one at Duke would even tell you Zion was more talented, whatever, could jump higher, cool. In terms of college basketball player, he's not even a better college basketball player for Duke than, like, Kyle Singler. Or, like, John Shire, or any of those guys, Shane Battier, guys that have won multiple championships, for Jay Williams, who came in and I think won player of the year and stuff as a freshman. Like, it's just like, okay, let's pump the brakes on Zion. But again, he beat the 1 seed Christian Laettner. That's absurd. KD, to get to Sweet 16, beat Candace Parker again, 2-time champion, 2-time NCAA tournament MVP. KD, National Player of the Year, great player. The reason why I like the Thunder, or the Supersonics and the Thunder, because he was my favorite player in college that year. But he's not a better college player than Candace Parker, no chance. Then he beat Patrick Ewing, who he went to 3 national championship games, won a title, was most outstanding player, 3-time All-American. And KD's NBA career is arguably better than what Ewing, and definitely probably better than Ewing, no offense, but arguably better than what Parker did. I mean, she won MVP and Rookie of the Year in the WNBA in her first season, obviously. So, again, tough matchup, but in college, there's no comparison. KD played 1 year at Texas, was great at Texas for that 1 year. Won National Player of the Year, but again, that was it. I think he lost in the second round of the NCAA tournament. So that's wild. Like, that's just even in that bracket. I still got to find out where Breanna Stewart was. Because her not being in the Sweet 16. Hopefully, let me make sure of that first. So Sweet 16, you had Shaq versus Anthony Davis. Disaster. Anthony Davis is better than Shaq was in college. He led his team to a title. I'm pretty sure Shaq's in the Final Four of this, which again tells you why a fan vote should be disallowed. Shaq, I don't think made it past the second round. Then you got Kemba versus D Wade. All right, that's not a bad matchup. Pistol Pete and Allen Iverson, whatever. Bill Russell and Larry Walton. So Shaq beat Kareem or Lou Alcindor in the second round. I'm pretty confident that Shaq beat not confident about Shaq. I'm pretty confident. Like during his time at UCLA, Lou Alcindor, Kareem went 88-2 or something like that. He's literally arguably the greatest college basketball player ever. How is he out in the round of 32? I don't care who he's matched up against. He didn't even play as a freshman because he couldn't. They changed rules because of him in college, according to my father. Obviously, I don't know them, but he changed rules. Like, there's no reason Shaq should be in this. And again, Breonna Stewart not making the Sweet 16 of this greatest basketball. Like, why did you even have women in this thing then? You might as well just made a completely separate bracket if no women were going to make it to the Sweet 16. If it's not a woman like Breonna Stewart, who, mind you, let me read off her statistics because her statistics are better than a lot of the men who are still around. She won, and I quote, she won 4 national championships, was the NCAA tournament most outstanding player 4 times, so each time she won, was a 3-time a consensus national player of the year and a 3-time consensus All-American. How did she lose to anybody? I think she lost to Allen Iverson, who, again, very good college career. No knock on him there. But again, when you have someone who is a 4-time champion and a 4-time most outstanding player, and all AI did was maybe named first team and be pretty good in the tournament, then why are we even having this? Like, what's the point? If the vote's just going to come down to fans, and again, Shaq, a great player. I don't think he made it past to the Sweet 16, neither of his 2 times there. Anthony Davis, who he beat, won a national championship as a freshman and was the best player on that team, bar none, easy. On a Kentucky team that, again, just has talented guys all over, coming in all the time. And yeah, I don't think Pistol P lost to Allen Iverson, even though he's the all-time leading scorer in college basketball. But he always never appeared in the NCAA tournament game, so that's probably why. I can't. So I think he did beat Breonna Stewart, which is kind of absurd. It's kind of absurd, personally. That Breonna Stewart, again, doesn't even make it to the Sweet 16 in that bracket. And obviously the Final Four, I think, is what Magic... It's Shaq and Larry Bird. How Shaq made it to the Final Four? And then Magic and MJ. I mean, MJ's kind of living. I don't know who else was in his bracket. Which bracket? He was in the South, I think. So he had... if this stupid page would load. So his Final Four was Steph, Wilt, and David Robertson. Yeah, he's being all those guys, but I mean, you probably could argue. I mean, he should have went up against Bill Walton at some point, or Maya Moore, or just like not Kevin Durant. He should have been Candace Parker. Should have been in there. No, Kevin Durant was in the other bracket, so it should have been Candace Parker versus Magic. I mean, that would have made more sense to me. And again, Magic probably making it make sense. Larry Bird making it make sense. Michael Jordan making it sort of makes sense. Again, he wasn't, even the year that he won the championship, he wasn't arguably the best player on that team, so there is that. But yeah, so it was Allen Iverson, Larry Bird, Shaq, and D. Wade. What? And again, D. Wade made it to the Final Four. Oh my God, even though Shaq was an amazing player, D. Wade led Marquette to a Final Four. Oh my Lanta. This thing is absurd. But again, obviously, anytime. Basically, you had I don't think they had any 1 seeds make it past to the Sweet 16. It tells me everything I need to know about the people voting. D-Wade beat Kemba Walker. Alright, I'll accept that. But yeah, when you lose Kareem and Breonna Stewart before the Sweet 16, like, why did you even have the bracket? Like, what's the point? What's the point if the fan, like, again, not all these guys voting saw, I mean, Breonna Stewart was young, so they could have seen her play, but I guess, I don't know, watches women's sports. Stupid. There are a lot of great women athletes all over the world, but whatever. So, but obviously most people voting on these things on social platforms for ESPN didn't watch Kareem or Lou Alcindor. Fine. But Google is available. YouTube's readily available. You could look up the stats and see that there's arguably no player in the history of college basketball, men or women, better than him during his time at UCLA. And he didn't make it to the round of Sweet 16. Again, just another example that fan voting should not be the be-all, end-all thing. Social media, because again, a lot of kids are on social media. I'm relatively young for a person on social media, and I'm like, and I'm 24. And there's people younger than me, 18, 17, 16, 19, 20, that are on social media and voting in these things, and they don't know the history. Not that I know all the history, but I know enough history to know that there's no Sweet 16 that exists of the greatest college basketball players of all time that doesn't have Lou Alcindor in it. I know there's none that doesn't have Breonna Stewart in it. I know there's none that doesn't have Maya Moore in it. Candace Parker probably should be in it too. Like, it's just like, what was the point of putting women in the bracket if they were just all going to lose? Like, Diana Taurasi didn't make it. Sue Bird didn't make it that far. It's like, what's the point? Like, how do you not, like, this is the kind of thing where you need, like, a panel. Like, even if you want to have fans be involved in the vote, cool. But it shouldn't, like, that shouldn't be the entirety of the vote, just have the fans vote, because then then they're not, again, fans don't know what they're talking about all the time. It's why they have to do away with fan votes and, like singing competitions and stuff like that, because they just, like, sometimes the fans are just wrong. They're allowed to be wrong. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but sometimes fans are just wrong. Well, they vote for a guy that they like, not the guy that's the best. You saw that all the time. I remember, what was his name? Was it Sanjay or whatever, someone with an S, on American Idol years ago. Could not sing that well at all. Just kept getting voted along. Just kept getting voted through. Because it's fan voting, and you can just call in for whatever. Got almost like a running joke at the time. Obviously, he didn't win, thank the Lord. But that's why I stopped watching singing competitions. Because again, regularly, the best singer didn't win. So I'm like, what's the point? I still remember when Adam Lambert lost on the American Idol. And I was like, he was easily the best singer. I mean, he's gone on to have a very good career, so good for him. But I'm saying it's an example of why fan voting is not a good measure, not a good tool to use for things. The fan vote should not be the be-all and end-all. We talked about with the All-Star stuff. We talked about it in other things. And again, it's hard to please everybody. So, we're going to please everybody. But again, any bracket of the greatest players of all time, and you get down to the Sweet 16, and basically all the one seeds are gone, and the one seeds were Lou Alcindor, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who, was, again, I think they lost 2 games his entire time at UCLA. And then you have Breonna Stewart, who I just told you, won 4 national championships, back to back to back to back, most outstanding player of the tournament, back to back to back to back, and was a 3-time All-American and 3-time Player of the Year, I think. Very few people in any sport have those accolades. Very few. And yet somehow, shouldn't he make it past the Sweet 16? Like, what are we doing? Like, why do we even have the bracket? If that's what we're going to do, why do we even have it? We might as well just throw it away. Like, I can't take any validity in the winner or losers of this bracket because I know it's all a farce. When that kind of stuff happens, you can't take any of this seriously. You just can't. And obviously, it's not meant to be taken seriously. It's a fan vote. It's a fun thing, blah, 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 whatever. But there needs to be regulations or limitations or something on it. Like, you can't just have it strictly be fan vote. Even if you want to have it half fan vote, and then, like, all right, there's a panel of, like, how many people that can come in and override. Like, yeah, no. We're not voting Kareem out. I don't care if it's Shaq and people like Shaq. We're not voting Kareem out. That's foolishness. We're just, no, that's not happening. That's all we need them for, just to override the foolishness. Again, when it gets down to the nitty-gritty and, all right, this person gets picked over that person, all right, whatever, it is what it is. But you can't allow both of those people to be out, along with Maya Moore and Candace Parker, and just be like, yeah, no, that's fine. Kemba Walker makes it to the Sweet 16, but 3 of the greatest women basketball players ever, just no need for them. Allen Iverson, who never won a title, makes it, but no 4-time, 3-time, 2-time champions. Winning doesn't matter. It's who I like as a person. That's not how it's not your favorite college basketball player ever, it's the greatest. And you use stats and accolades and things of that nature. You don't use favoritism. And again, Jordan's probably gonna win. I don't know, because Magic's kind of well liked too. But yeah, in this Final Four, Shaq again never led his team past to the Sweet 16. Jordan, Magic, and Bird have all won titles. If Shaq makes it to the Final Two, then just forget this bracket ever happened. Just forget it ever happened. Just like, all right, we'll just scrap it and just do another one next year. There's no point. You can't have, again, Shaq was dominant at LSU. So I understand. But again, I don't understand how you measure greatness at a level and don't. I mean, Shaq wouldn't even tell he was the greatest college basketball player of all. I mean, maybe he would. But I'm just saying, Shaq mocks Charles Barkley all the time for no rings. If we're talking about college, how can he can't even, he's not even close to the same table. I mean, Magic, Jordan, and Bird are in a table in a different room. They can't even see Shaq. And Shaq can't see them. But, fan voting. Fan voting. I hate it so much. I hate every part of fan voting. I wish they would just outlaw it. Just don't ever use fan voting. Fans don't know what they're talking about. I promise you they don't. I'm a fan, and I promise you, I don't know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm talking about for this podcast, but, like, in terms of voting, like, there's only so much knowledge I can have. I'm just picking guys that I like. Again, Steph made, like, I think the Sweet 16 based off basically, like, one NCAA tournament where he made the Elite Eight. Great for him. He was great at it. I'm not even knocking that, but, again, no championships. Like, why do we even make this? No National Players of the Year? What's even the point? What is even the point? But yeah, there's another example of why I don't think fan voting should be taken seriously at all as a measurement to gauge greatness among players in any sports. But yeah, so if you're following the bracket, you'll probably agree with me on this. But if you're not, it's not worth your time. It's nothing but pure foolishness. But yeah. That'll do it for me here today on the GSMC Sports Podcast presented by GSMC Podcast Network. I want to thank you guys for listening, as always, and especially to my rant on fan voting. I'm sorry about that, but again, I just despise it so much. Like that once I saw Beyond, I mean, again, Kareem not being in there is obviously a travesty of itself, but why even have women in the bracket if Brianna Stew's not going to make it to the Sweet 16? Arguably one of the greatest college basketball players ever. Like I said, men or women. And she can't even get to the Sweet 16. Absurd. Allen Iverson took her out. Which, again, I love Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson is my favorite player. As a kid. He was my favorite player. I have his jersey with the Nuggets. I wore arm sleeves when I played sports because of Allen Iverson. I rolled one sleeve up when I wore jerseys to school because of Allen Iverson. But, again, he's just not a better college basketball player than Brianna Stewart was. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm continuing my rant now because I'm so annoyed. But yeah, that'll do it for me here today on the GSMC Sports Podcast presented by GSMC Podcast Network. As always, I want to thank you guys for listening. I already said that, but again, I just got so off track by my rant. So you got to make sure you guys heard me. So I'll say it again. As always, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast. Make sure you never miss an episode. Make sure you continue to hear my hate or my disdain for the fan vote in all sports. If you haven't already. Please give us a 5-star rating. Write us a nice review. Be very appreciated. It's very helpful. And also, if you're on social media, we're on social media, so you can find us there. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We can talk, we can chat, we can discuss. You can tell me why fan voting is the greatest thing in the world. You can slander me for if you're a Falcons fan for bringing up the Super Bowl again. I'm sorry to rehash old memories, but I mean, hey, it's a game we're going to be talking about forever. You can tell me why the NFL's plan to kind of sequester the league in a random spot and play the games is going to work. I'm more than welcome to discuss all this with you guys, as always. But yes, just want to, as I close, want to give another quick shout out to all the essential workers out there that are helping us get through these Rona times as quickly and as healthy as we all can. Obviously, I know they're putting themselves and their lives and their families at risk, and I think we should all appreciate them. And also, whenever this is done, make sure you tip your non-essential workers, whether that's your people that does your hair, people that does your nails, your bartenders, your waiters, all those guys, because they're going through a rough time too, obviously, being out of work. I mean, the essential workers are going through a tough time because they have to work, but these guys that all kind of survive on the average person and tips and stuff like that, they're out of it. So just remember, whenever we get through this, tip them as handsomely as you can. I know I will be. But yeah, that'll do it for me here. That has been my time, and until next time. Peace out.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.